Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving deep into a topic that's absolutely fundamental to success in any market, whether you're into stocks, crypto, or even starting your own business. It's the one thing that separates the gamblers from the strategists, setting crystal clear goals. I know, it sounds a bit like homework, but trust me, skipping this step is like trying to drive to a new city without a map or a GPS. You might get somewhere, but it probably won't be where you intended to go. So, what do we mean by setting clear goals? It's not just about saying, I want to make a lot of money. That's a wish, not a goal. A real, actionable goal has a key components we're going to break down today. Defining your profit targets and understanding your personal risk tolerance. These two things are the North Star of your financial journey. They guide every single decision you make, from what you buy to when you sell. Without them, you're just reacting to market noise, getting swept up in hype, and likely making emotional decisions that cost you dearly. Let's start with the fun part, profit targets. What do you actually want to achieve? This needs to be specific. Instead of I want to be rich, think in concrete numbers and timelines. For example, a clear goal might be, I want to grow my $10,000 portfolio by 15% within the next 12 months. See the difference? Now you have a measurable benchmark. You can track your progress and know if you're on the right path. To set a realistic profit target, you need to do a little research. What are the historical average returns for the assets you're interested in? If the stock market historically returns about 8 to 10% a year on average, aiming for a 50% return in your first year might be setting yourself up for disappointment and encouraging reckless behavior. Your target should be ambitious enough to motivate you, but grounded enough in reality to be achievable. Break it down even further. If your annual goal is a $1,200 profit on a $10,000 investment, that's $100 a month. This makes the big goal feel less intimidating and more manageable. You can set smaller targets for individual trades or investments. For instance, you might decide to take profits on a stock once it has appreciated by 20%. Having this rule in place before you enter the trade prevents you from getting greedy when the price is soaring, a classic mistake that often leads to watching your gains evaporate. So, your first piece of homework is to sit down and write it out. What is your capital? What is the specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound or smart goal you have for that capital? I will turn my $5,000 into $6,000 by the end of this year by investing in a diversified portfolio of ETFs. That's a solid, actionable goal. It gives you purpose and a finish line. Now, let's talk about the other side of the coin, which is arguably even more important, understanding your risk tolerance. This is all about figuring out how much you're willing to lose in pursuit of your profit targets. Every investment carries risk. There's no reward without it. The key is to make sure the level of risk you're taking aligns with your financial situation and your emotional fortitude. Ask yourself some tough questions. How would you feel if your portfolio dropped by 10% in a week? What about 20% or 50%? Your honest answer to this is your emotional risk tolerance. If the thought of a 20% drop makes you feel physically sick and want to sell everything, then high-risk, high-volatility assets are probably not for you, no matter how high the potential reward is. This is the sleep-at-night test. Your investment strategy should never cost you your peace of mind. Beyond your feelings, there's your financial risk capacity. This is about your actual ability to withstand losses. How much can you afford to lose without it derailing your life? Factors to consider here include your age, your income stability, your dependents, and your overall financial safety net. A young person with a stable job and no dependents can generally afford to take on more risk than someone nearing retirement who will rely on their investments for income. Never, ever invest money that you might need in the short term for essential expenses like rent, bills, or an emergency fund. That money has a job, and its job is to be safe and accessible. The money you invest should be capital you can afford to part with for a while, allowing it to ride out the inevitable ups and downs of the market. Once you understand your personal risk tolerance both emotionally and financially, you can start to build a portfolio that reflects it. If you're highly risk-averse, your portfolio might be heavily weighted towards bonds, blue-chip dividend stocks, and broad market index funds. If you have a higher risk tolerance, you might allocate a small percentage of your portfolio to more speculative plays like growth stocks or even cryptocurrencies. The magic happens when you bring your profit targets and risk tolerance together. They have to be in harmony. You can't have a goal of making 100% return in a year with a portfolio that has 90% low-risk government bonds. The math just doesn't work. Conversely, if you're extremely risk-averse, you have to accept that your profit targets will likely be more modest. This is where the concept of risk-reward ratio comes in. For every trade you consider, you should define your potential profit, your target, and your potential loss, your stop loss. A common strategy is to only enter trades where the potential reward is at least 2 or 3 times the potential risk. For example, you might risk $100 for a potential gain of $300. This framework forces you to be disciplined. It ensures that even if you lose more trades than you win, you can still come out profitable overall. Let's put it all together in a practical example. For each individual stock, you set rules. I will buy stock X at $50. My price target is $65, a 30% gain. My stop loss is $45, a 10% loss. This gives you a 3-to-1 risk-reward ratio. You've defined your entry, your exit for a win, and your exit for a loss. Now, you're not just hoping, you're executing a plan. If the stock hits $65, you sell and lock in your profit, moving you closer to your overall $2,000 goal. If it drops to $45, you sell, accept the small loss, and protect your capital from further decline. You're managing your risk and working toward your target in a structured way. This entire process, defining profits and understanding risk, is what transforms you from a passive participant into the CEO of your own financial future. It's an ongoing process, not a one-time setup. You should review your goals and risk tolerance at least once a year, or whenever you have a major life change. As you gain more experience, your confidence might grow, and your risk tolerance might shift. As you get closer to your financial goals, you might want to dial back the risk to protect what you've built. So, take the time, do the work, write down your profit targets. Be brutally honest about your risk tolerance. Create a plan that aligns the two. This clarity will be your greatest asset. It will empower you to act with confidence, to stay disciplined when others are panicking, and to steadily build wealth over the long term. Thank you so much for sticking with me through this deep dive. I know it's a lot to think about, but it's the foundation for everything that follows. If you found this helpful, please hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss our next video, where we'll talk about how to find investments that fit the goals you've just set. Drop a comment below and let me know one financial goal you're setting for yourself this year. Let's achieve them together. Until next time, invest wisely and stay strategic.